Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user For the Good Times. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister I won't be her surrogate? I, 30 female, have an identical twin sister. We'll call her Stacy for the sake of the story. Our mother unfortunately passed in child labor and we were raised by our father. Stacy has been married to Jeff for 8 years. I have been in a relationship with Mike for 3 years now. One thing I've always known about my sister is that she wanted to be a mom. Even when we were children, she was always thinking about wedding ideas, nursery themes, baby names, etc. I was always more focused on books and having fun. I am now a flight attendant and I'm also attempting to become a published author. My sister has not worked, ever, honestly. When we graduated high school, we went straight to college. She met her boyfriend in college and once she graduated, became a stay-at-home girlfriend until she became his wife. I have known for a while that my sister has been attempting to become pregnant, unsuccessfully. She has experienced a single miscarriage and has been unable to become pregnant again after thousands and thousands of dollars being spent on IVF and pretty much anything they could do because she wanted to experience pregnancy. After 5 years of no success, they have started to discuss their options. My sister isn't interested in adoption and is very adamant on having a child that has both of their DNA. Her words, not mine. About 3 weeks ago, she came to my house and we were hanging out as we usually do, just chatting and watching Modern Family. She told me she had a serious question and needed to ask me while she still had her nerves. It scared me, but she asked if I could be her surrogate. I was frozen for a second and asked what she meant. She told me that I know what a surrogate was. She needed me to be her surrogate. I expressed that she knew that I wasn't interested in having children. This could definitely be due to how we came into the world, but I'll be honest and say I have never found the thought of having children appealing in any way. I told her that I would have zero issue with donating my eggs to her, however many she needed. She could have them all, but I could not carry her child. Upon hearing that, she became so angry. Her face was so red and she was just yelling about how it's obvious how jealous and hateful I am because this is a small task. I didn't want to bring it to her attention that she has always spoke about having more than 4 kids. Would the expectation be for me to do this every time? I don't know and I'm starting to feel so bad. She ended up telling me that if I couldn't do this one thing for her, how could I ever call myself her sister? She broke a picture of us I have sitting on my mantle and stormed out. Since then, she's only texted me pictures of her diaries from when we were kids and all of their vision boards saying that I'm stopping her from creating a family for no reason and to think about the bigger picture. My boyfriend refuses to give me advice saying that it's my sister and he doesn't feel comfortable attempting to sway me in either direction because it's a touchy subject. Honestly, this is the longest I've ever gone without communicating with my sister and I am seriously on the verge of giving in. So, am I the a-hole for not wanting to be a surrogate for my identical twin sister? In short, OP, no, you're not the a-hole. Honestly, I don't know where to begin with your sister. I can of course understand her frustration after years of attempting with nothing happening, doing IVF and nothing happening and just having one miscarriage, of course. But this whole guilt trip that she's pulling on you, that's not cool and not fair. She already asked you if you wanted to be her surrogate, you said no, but that you would help her in any other way you could. That's as far as you go. And her reaction is, yeah, maybe out of anger, maybe out of frustration. It doesn't matter. It's still unfair to you that basically you're the reason why she won't be able to have a family. To think about the bigger picture. What the hell? OP, maybe the pressure of wanting to have a kid is really getting to your sister and she needs some help, but it's not gonna come from you being a surrogate. So no, OP, not the a-hole. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section and now let's move on to the community comment. DuckDuckGoose1 says, most doctors would refuse to allow you to be a surrogate as you've not previously had children. She'll be hard-pressed to find one that would. Not to mention, she's asking her sister to sacrifice her body and potentially her life to fulfill her dream. That's not fair at all. If she can afford IVF, she can afford a surrogate, not the a-hole. Entertainment OK 6284 says, not the a-hole. Pregnancy is hard. Your body never goes back to the way it was. There are risks involved, especially with surrogacy because of all the hormones you would need to take. Recovery takes ages, and again, your body will not be the same. Plus, you don't know how attached you will be to the baby. It's an extraordinary ask, and unless the surrogate feels hell yes, it shouldn't be done. It's not fair of your sister to ask this of you if you don't want to. It's not your obligation to solve the crappy hand she was given. If she can't see that you don't owe her your body, she is the selfish one. She can be disappointed, she can grieve, but she cannot put the burden of her dreams on you. And Trixelx says she's too unhinged to be a mother in her current mindset. Don't help her dreams become a child's nightmare. Opie's edit. I am reading all the comments and I want to say thank you so much. I feel so much better knowing I'm not the villain, but I would be lying if I said I am not leaning towards just doing it. This disconnect with my sister brings me immense discomfort in ways I cannot verbally express. But I see a few frequent questions I want to answer to hopefully get different answers. 1. Money. My mother did not die of natural causes. It was provider error. My father sued the hospital and my sister and I have sizable trusts with that money. So money is not an issue for either of us, and her husband is financially well off as well. So not working for 9 months or paying for the egg retrieval process, etc. isn't an issue in any way. It's more so her stubbornness for the baby to share our DNA and for one of us to be carrying it. 2. Since we're identical, if she can't have a baby, how can I? Her lack of being able to have a child is due to a car accident we were in, which is also the source of the miscarriage she experienced. Due to her being in the front seat with our father, they took the brunt of the crash unfortunately. Her body is now unable to carry a child and she has had extremely complications with egg retrieval. I'm not sure about the details of how that has gone wrong, just that it is not working and not an option. It is hard to get her to discuss non-viable options so I can gain a better understanding. And 3. Doctors will not allow me to be a surrogate due to me not having a child. Thank you so much for this information. We have a family dinner this upcoming Thursday because we always watch football with our dad and significant others. I'm sure this topic will come up if she decides to attend. I'm hoping I can bring this up to her. The community agrees that OP is not the a-hole and gave her some information that she's going to use the next time she sees her sister. So let's move on to the update to see how that went. So I promised an update, but my dad actually ended up calling me while I was hanging out and told me to come over for dinner yesterday night so we could talk. I wanted to start by saying thank you so much for all the comments and advice. Some of you were jerks to not only me, but my sister and boyfriend as well. I still appreciate the help. I didn't even ask about what when my dad called. I figured he had spoken to Stacy. Based on comments, I know you guys won't be happy, but I spoke with my boyfriend about where his head was if I were to go forward with it. He told me that he loved me and would support me through any and everything, but he would not continue to sit by while my sister made me feel like trash, and if I was doing this under coercion, he would not be able to support me, which I honestly completely understand. When we went over to my dad's for dinner, my sister and brother-in-law were already there. I spoke to them both when we walked in, but only my sister replied. My brother-in-law gave me the most disgusting look and greeted my boyfriend only. My dad sat us down at the table and there was just this awkward silence and tension I could cut with a butcher knife. He said, "Somebody talk, we need to get this resolved before the game tomorrow night." My dad loves football, lol. I started off the conversation by telling her that I did some research and on top of my initial concerns, I now had a few more and needed to know exactly what she needed from me. I first asked her what being a surrogate would look like and she just said, "Are you agreeing to it?" When I told her no, I just needed more details, she broke down crying. I asked her if she knew that a doctor would deny me from being a surrogate, given that I've never successfully carried a child to term, and she said she knew that, and she would just send my brother-in-law and I to a center of excellence. There, we can pretend we're a couple, and once I'm successfully inseminated, then I would request a transfer from that provider to her OBGYN for the continuation of care. My father intervened and said that asking me to do something a doctor wouldn't sign off on was a terrible way to attempt to begin motherhood. You could tell he wasn't on board with any of it, but didn't want to pick a side. He asked her why she was so uncomfortable with the idea of a surrogate. That's the moment the mood shifted, since my brother-in-law interjected and said, "Don't try to berate my wife with these stupid questions. Talk to your selfish bitch of a daughter about why she can't help her sister." I genuinely think this is a request he is making, and she is just wanting to oblige him. When I or Dad try to press her on why it has to be me, the words immediately start fumbling, and it always just results right back to begging and "can't you just do it?" Anyway, my boyfriend started to yell at him for calling me a bitch. My dad told him he could not disrespect his daughters in his home. Everything just went up in flames. My sister was crying, asking me to do her this favor, practically begging. I told her that if I could trade places with her, I would, but I was scared and just didn't want to die. I think that was the first time I had said that out loud ever. We couldn't get more solved after that. My dad asked my brother-in-law to leave because he couldn't control himself and refused to apologize. When they were walking out, my sister told him she would meet him in the car, asked me to come and talk to her on the porch, just the two of us. I went out with her and she apologized for her husband calling me a bitch, said that they were just on edge and it's been stressful. I told her that she shouldn't apologize for him and that we'd figured something out. She asked me to reconsider and just kept saying, "You don't get it, you don't understand." When I pressured her for more, she admitted that her in-laws made a cruel joke at one of their dinners recently about how she was a murderer, referring to the child she lost. She said she asked him why he didn't stand up for her when they made the joke, and he said because it was true. He made some weird comments about her not being able to make up for it, and how he was so excited to see what their child would look like, and how he would never be able to look into a child and see pieces of them both. So she had the idea of me carrying the child and he was super on board. But the way she said it was like he planted a seed, and she seems to believe it was her idea. She said she hadn't seen him that excited since the baby, and she just needed my help to get everything back to normal. I tried to explain to her that nothing would ever be normal again, and that what she was trying to do was the wrong thing. At that point, he just started blaring the horn, rushing her to the car, and she said she'd call me later. I told my dad what she said when I went back inside. He didn't seem surprised. He said that he went to dinner with her in-laws per her request, and he saw the change in how they treated her. He said that, same as me, he didn't know how bad it was. I know he did reach out to her and tell her that my brother-in-law would no longer be welcome back until he apologizes to me. He's hoping that she'll still come over tonight and we can talk to her together without his presence. This is all super new territory for us. We were under the impression that she was in a happy, loving relationship. We aren't idiots and knew the loss of their child did shake their relationship, but I could not have imagined this in my wildest dreams. Brother-in-law has always been so cool. I used to see him like an annoying brother. Now I see he's emotionally abusive and extremely manipulative. I feel like I may lose my sister, but I know I am not even willing to donate my eggs for her to have a baby with him. I took your guys' advice and looked up the egg donation process. Wow, not at all what I expected. I wanted to divorce him now. I am never going to help her procreate with that man. I genuinely think I'd be a surrogate for her to be a single mom before I'd ever allow her to place his child in me or take my eggs to even create a child with him. I had no clue that his family was pushing so much guilt onto her. I have literally been jumping at my phone every time it rings because I know she'll be calling soon and I'll have to tell her that. I'm terrified I'll lose my sister, but I can't and won't do this. I probably won't update anymore either, but thanks for all the help. Well, Opie, I think you're definitely right about your sister, and hopefully you can help her open her eyes and understand that this is not right. So in the meantime, here's wishing you all the best in the future. Thanks for sharing and take care. And now let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user bodywash10. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom my husband isn't a babysitter? My husband and I live about 4 hours away from my sister, husband, and her 2 kids, 13 female and 12 male. They lost power this week due to the hurricane and won't get it back until next Saturday. My sister asked my mom if she can bring my niece and nephew to stay with her this week, and she agreed. She is going to meet my sister halfway now to get them. We are supposed to be going to a wedding this week in another state, but my husband and son, 5, were staying home because it is too expensive for flights and it is my cousin's wedding anyway, who he doesn't know well. It is also a child-free wedding. My sister was going to take her kids and they were coming to the rehearsal party, but staying with another relative in the same city for the wedding night. My mom just called me and asked if my husband could watch the kids instead. My husband is hesitant because he has to work, has to get my son to school every day, and they would just be here. He is just uncomfortable doing it himself. I told my mother I can stay home and help him, but she is adamant I go. She doesn't see the big deal because they are teenagers that don't do anything, but that is not true. They always complain they are bored constantly. I know it'll be hard for him to handle all 3 for 3 days plus the pets. My mother is pissed now because she doesn't understand why we are pushing back. She also got angry because I asked her if my sister knew she was calling me and why won't she call me herself to ask. Of course she does. What is the big deal? My sister has enough money to change their flights to come out of our city instead, so I don't understand why we aren't keeping that plan. I just have a weird feeling she didn't want my mom to ask, and now I am split between my husband and mother. My husband is also annoyed because ever since we got married 4 years ago, she treats him like her own personal mechanic, IT support, you name it. She doesn't even ask, she just tells. And her reason is, of course, family helps each other. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for fighting for my husband and telling my mother no? Honestly, I don't even want to go to the wedding anymore because I won't have my husband with me when she inevitably talks about him pushing back to everyone she can there. She is retired and has nothing else to do but cause drama. No, OP, you're not the a-hole. You're doing what's right. You're standing up for your husband and you're shutting down your mom with this ridiculous request. Didn't she agree with your sister that she was gonna take care of the kids and now she's just pawning them off to your husband for whatever reason? If I was in your shoes, OP, I'd just tell your mom, my husband's not gonna do it, I'm gonna talk to my sister, and then just don't answer her calls or messages. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's check out the community comments. Desert Song Lala says, not the a-hole. If family helps each other, then family should listen to one another. You stated no and why. Don't cave. Drama is mom's pastime. Don't support this. Being older does not mean you get what you want from others. And Opie responds, thank you. Her mother was very much the same way, so I think she believes it is her turn. My husband does not come from a family like this, so this is not normal for him. I honestly think if we ever get divorced, she will be one of the reasons. Weasel C says, no, you're not the a-hole. If he has to work and himself says he cannot do it, he should not need to do it. He is under no obligation to do so too. Like you already stated, he is not a babysitter. She needs to accept that and try to find another solution. And Mad Maddie Log says, not the a-hole. Shut your mother all the way down. He's your husband, not hers. If she needs a personal handyman, she can hire one or remarry. Alright, the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole and that she should continue to stand up for her husband since he is in fact not a babysitter. So now let's move on to the update to see how the story ends. My mother called me about 45 times yesterday and left a rude voicemail about how she doesn't understand why I am mad, so I kept ignoring her calls. I finally called her back today and told her I can either stay home because I don't even want to go now, or we can change their flights to come with us. My sister is no longer attending because her job is asking her to stay and help with some disaster recovery for some employees where she works. My mother is still being combative. She doesn't understand why he can't do it himself, so I hung up on her. She watches my son after school every day, so I told her not to come over as she seems to think she can use that to hold it over our heads to do favors for her. And I thought she wanted to spend time with him. We are looking into aftercare at the school. I also spoke to my sister. She didn't know my mom was going to ask. She totally understands and is trying to change the kids' flights now to come with us. Since she is being so understanding, I did tell her I can stay home if needed, but she wants to try this route first since the kids want to go. Honestly, the thought of spending 3 days in a hotel room with my mom sounds a lot more stressful than staying home and letting the kids stay with me. Maybe the wedding booze will help. My mother is definitely pissed I spoke up for my husband and against her, but that is her issue. My sister and I both agree she needs therapy. Thank you for all the advice, comments, and mirror holding up to me. My husband says thank you as well. Well, Opie, I think it's great that you continued to stand up to your mom, but not just that, you also took away any kind of leverage she could have. Now you just need to endure 3 days with her and then you can actually go low contact if she continues to be this dramatic. Take care, Opie, and thanks for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.